I have been having a ton of fun with Carx Street. However, there's a few things that I wish I had known in the beginning so I could have made my experience a little bit more enjoyable. This is everything I wish I knew before playing Carx Street. Let's go. Alright, because I hate wasting people's time, we're going to jump straight into the list, and keep in mind these are in no specific order. Alright. Money is very tight in the beginning of the game, so don't spend your money on sport gas. It provides a boost to performance, but it's very expensive and not worth it in the beginning. Also, don't spend any of your street coins early. You will need them later in the game, which I'll explain later in the video. Number 2, the best upgrade you can make for each of your cars is the Racing Plus tires, which are bought at the gas stations. They make the cars 1,000,000 times more controllable, and the game instantly becomes more enjoyable. It's the first thing I do when I get a new car, and I highly suggest this is the first thing you do for your cars. I cannot stress this enough. Try the Racing Plus tires. And speaking of new cars, don't spend too much money on new cars in the beginning. You'll need the money to modify your cars into specific classes and ratings in order to join new clubs and unlock more races. It's important to be very responsible with your money in the beginning. Now, although they did update the economy, and you shouldn't really have this issue now, if you do run out of money early, there are ways to get money without racing in the club races. You can simply drive around in free roam. It doesn't get you that much, but if it's a strategy that you're going to take, make sure you're not crashing into things. The amount you earn is directly tied to your multiplier, and you lose your multiplier when you hit something. Just drive the highways or drift around and rack up multiplier, and then stop the car safely, and you will notice your XP bar going up and money will be deposited into your account. There isn't a formal UI screen that tells you that this is happening though, so you'll just have to watch your wallet. In addition to that, you can also do car deliveries and box deliveries. These don't pay that much, and they do require a significant amount of time, but you can also count this as an experience because the car deliveries actually allow you to drive a variety of cars, so it's a little bit more fun than just randomly driving around on the highways. Next, fuel does not run out mid-race. If you start the race with even just 5% fuel, the game will allow you to finish that race on empty without any effects to your car. But as soon as you are done with that race, your car will go into a limp mode until you get more fuel. Since money is hard to come by early in the game, I recommend using every single bit of fuel you have while racing and then heading to the nearest gas station after your race. The savings with that will add up. Next, NOS doesn't really work in this game like it does in other games. It does provide you a boost to your acceleration when using it, but it also extends your car's red line by around 1,000 RPMs. So NOS usage is the most effective at the top of the gear's range. Next, manual transmission is very useful in this game. Engine braking and being able to hold onto a gear a little bit longer is super beneficial in races. Also, you can initiate a drift or a micro drift by downshifting and turning at the same time, and that type of control definitely helps you drive faster, so I strongly recommend learning manual transmission for this game. And sort of a sister point to that is the clutch. I strongly recommend playing with clutch on manual mode because it doesn't really actually make you press a clutch button, it just makes you shift gears quicker. It will sometimes throw you into neutral after a big crash, but you can easily just shift up out into the gear that you want. And speaking of going faster, higher FPS really makes this game better, and the lower graphics settings don't really seem to change the visuals of the game dramatically. Now, obviously, the lower settings are going to look different, but it's not dramatic. So why not just max out your FPS? Having a higher FPS can help with all sorts of things, but mostly it improves the overall feeling of the game. Now, we did notice in certain time attacks where there was a shortcut, it was easier to take that shortcut and not get reset if the FPS was super high. I don't know if there's going to be many occasions like that, but because of that scenario, and I like competing on those leaderboards, I decided that I would go with lower graphic settings simply to make sure I'm getting the highest FPS I can. And I strongly recommend you do the same thing. Next up, houses can only hold a limited number of cars, and then you'll need to buy another house for more space. As you progress through the game, you'll start to accumulate cars for each of the clubs, and you'll need space to park them. When you buy a car, it just goes into an empty lot and you can't use it until you park it at one of your houses. And speaking of cars, if you would like to easily switch between your cars for free, just open up the map, click the right stick down, and then select the car you want and back out of that menu. And while you're in that menu, know that you can look at all of the cars that you own. Simply open the map, click the right stick down, and this UI has some very important info for you as well. On each car, you'll notice the car info, its class and rating, horsepower, weight, drivetrain, but also it tells you whether that car is part of one of the clubs in town. That's important, especially when you finish the club and you're looking to see if you have any elite races for that club available. You can simply select the car that you want to check, look on the map to see if your elite race doesn't have a timer, and you're good to go. You know you can do that race. Now, to enter an event or a club, the requirements you see are the minimum to get in. The class is indicated by the C number, C1, C2, etc. That is exclusively controlled by your car's power to weight ratio, and that's it. So if your car class is a little bit too high, you know you need to either reduce the power or add weight. You can add weight with things like a bigger gas tank, although maybe not super recommended early on in the game, and you can reduce power by simply just downgrading your performance parts. Any upgrade you make to suspension, tires, transmission, etc. are not going to affect the power to weight ratio unless those changes reduce or add weight. The R number is the rating of the car. This is affected by any upgrades at all. The more upgrades that you have in the car, the more that number goes up. It also is affected by the customization that you do to the car. So if you're trying to get into a particular event or club and you don't have enough rating, but you're low on cash, you might be able to just drop a body kit on the car and the rating will raise up quite a bit. It will depend on the car though. The lower level cars are much cheaper to put body kits on than the higher level cars. So keep that in mind and just choose the option that gets you to the rating that you want and doesn't cost you a ton of money. Now let's talk about the end game. Now this is a little bit ruined in my opinion, unless they update the game after this video goes live. Right now, the end game for players who don't want to play PvP is just the club races at the elite level, which rewards you not only cash, but also street coins. And street coins are the currency needed to fully upgrade your cars, and you need quite a few in order to do so. For players who like PvP, then PvP is the end game. However, if you're very competitive, you may end up having to grind elite races or deliveries anyways to keep earning money, because PvP races are all betting. And if you don't win, you lose everything that you bet. Let's say there are 5 players in the race. The winner is the only one who takes home the cash. It is a winner takes all scenario. Because of that, and the fact that cheating has been a real issue for this game here early on, multiplayer is absolutely dead right now unless it's just you and your friends. I think as time goes on, that may change, because the Carx dev team did say that they are looking at instances of cheating and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do about it. Lastly, the time attack leaderboards are some of the sweatiest places to compete in the game. The difference between the top times is actually insanely close, and the rewards are really, really good. It does pay to build the correct cars for those timed events and try to place at least in the top 100. That usually gets you some street coins, which again is something you're going to need for building your cars. Now, I'm sure there's lots of other beginner friendly tips that I should have included in this video. So if you guys think of something that would be helpful for someone else that's looking at this video and reading through the comments, please leave your best tips in the comments down below. Things that you thought would have been nice to know before you started the game. And of course, it should help out anyone reading through those. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.